Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Friday's little recommendation here of what to watch. And boy, do I have an interesting one here. That one being Sleepaway Camp from 1983, starring Felissa Rose. The synopsis for which is as follows. Angela Baker, a shy, traumatized young girl, is sent to summer camp with her cousin. Shortly after her arrival, anyone with sinister or less than honorable intentions toward her gets their comeuppance. So, for the uninitiated, the title and time frame of when this one came out may lead one to think that this is just some random camp slasher that's trying to rip off of some of the popularity of the Friday the 13th series, but couldn't be further from the truth, because the only real similarities between this and any of the Friday the 13th kind of stuff is that there's a camp and people are getting killed. That's about it. So, before we dive in though, there is a major twist toward the end, which I'm going to save for the end of this recommendation, and I'll give a warning about before speaking to, as to avoid any spoilers for those who haven't seen the film yet. So, with that being said, let's continue on now with Sleepaway Camp. Now, I had seen this one a couple times in the past, I think 2 or 3 times. The last time I saw it was well over 10 years ago, and I remember really enjoying it, and I think I'd seen some of the sequels around that time as well. But I've been wanting to get a really good copy of it for a while, and I actually had the Blu-ray sitting there on a wish list of mine on Amazon for quite a while. And then I visited Viper Video, which I'd put up a quick little video for a few months back. It's a local place here in Tampa, and it's, they've got even some old VHS, some old Laserdisc, lots of DVDs and lots of Blu-rays, even a lot of 4K stuff there. So they had a copy right there, and I scooped it up. So, I was able to scoop it up locally, pay locally, brick and mortar, all that fun stuff, watch it that very night, instead of paying some giant company and having to wait several days to even get it in the mail. So, first off, the transfer on this is absolutely great. It's definitely the cleanest image I've ever seen for this film. I'm going to go into a little more of the reason why that's sticking out at the end of the video here when I get to some of that spoiler information. But diving into this one for the first time in so long, I really wanted to pay close attention to see if I could kind of put my finger on why this one has the following that it does, and why even it, I seem to hold like a special place in my heart for this film also. So, quick little breakdown here. The beginning of it, we see a boy and a girl vacationing with their dad. They're out on this lake. There's an accident, some deaths happen, and then it flashes forward, showing that the daughter had survived and is now living with her aunt and cousin. And we get some possibly unintentional humor here. That humor being this really strange dialogue that's often throughout this film, and the delivery of these lines, not to mention the 80s fashion, which is really off the hook here. We get some really strange, weird, old-fashioned, like these super short crop tops and short shorts that are so short they leave nothing to the imagination. It's very strange. But earlier as mentioned, and later, via some flashbacks, we get this strange dialogue delivery by the way of Angela's aunt.
Why, of course you do, dear. We wouldn't want them to leave without us, now would we? No? No, I'm afraid that wouldn't do. Come, children.
And it works great because it's so outlandish that one knows while watching it that this woman's a bit unhinged. There's something not quite right about her. Counter to this is Angela being extremely quiet. For most of the film, she doesn't even speak at all. Just this wide-eyed, cow-eyed, all big and worried looking all the time as she's, off at this camp with her cousin. And in the middle, between those two extremes, we get pretty much everybody else. Nothing too bad here, but some stuff, some dialogue exchanges and insults especially, are just weird.
No problem, Gino. This guy blows dead dogs. Just lay it in there.
Eat shit and die, Ricky!
Eat shit and live, Bill.
Yeah, Bill, he's a little wet. Come on, Bill.
Like, not only are the insults and the reasons behind the this bullying kind of strange, but everybody at this camp, I noticed, seems to just be overly angry, in a really bad mood, always really competitive with each other, and just at each other's throats. And the bullying is what really stood out to me in this, and, in this most recent viewing, is that these kids are at each other's throats, and a few other characters, such as this cook who's kind of taken out early on, are just downright creepy. I wouldn't really call this film to be scary so much as just this delight as seeing these bullying characters kind of, getting taken out one by one. The mystery is basically who this killer is behind all of this, but the ride is all about seeing these characters that you hate getting killed in some brutal ways, such as a curling iron, totally disgusting, even though it leaves much to the imagination there, and you know, a beehive being dropped on somebody. There's some really grotesque stuff happening, but it's actually paced very well, works well within the story. And like I said, since you don't like these bullies and there's so many of them, you kind of just feel like, all right, I see that coming. I can't wait to see how that kind of pans out. But you know, while the dialogue is, you know, it's a bit strange overall, and the fashion is quite dated, and this one I wouldn't really consider to be scary. It really is a fun ride, you know, as you kind of work through this slim, like roughly 85-minute runtime to see who this killer is by the end of it, who's behind it, because they always keep this killer in the shadows. You only see their hands or maybe a silhouette. That's where the real mystery of this is. And but before we get into the spoiler info, if you're interested in this film and haven't seen it, or haven't seen it in a really long time, it's available currently on Tubi as well as Peacock and various other paid services out there. So if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while and are interested, head on over and check it out, and then you know, head back here for the rest of the video. Okay, so now for some of the spoiler stuff here. As Angela is slowly kind of opening up a bit here and there, and is even, you know, having some decent connections here and there, especially with one of the campers, the truth eventually comes out as her mental wall kind of breaks down, and she stands there naked, crazy, bloody. She's been behind the killings this whole time, and she's got a penis. That's right. That tragedy from the beginning of the film, it turns out that it was the boy who had survived, but the aunt had always wanted a girl, so she just decided to dress him up and call him Angela, and that's where he's at. Forced to live the life of a girl in disguise, having dealt with the trauma of that, the trauma with losing 2 family members, along with all this bullying that's going on at this camp, has finally just kind of pushed her over the edge, caused her to snap and start getting revenge on these people. Leaving us with a creepy open mouth kind of mid-scream face, which the actress to this day, I see pictures and reenactments all the time of like photos with fans and everything. And with some of the extras, you know, on this disc here and everything, it's really come out that she appears to have like really embraced what this film was, had a great time making it, has really fond memories of it, so she's always doing that crazy, creepy smile. And so one of the things that I mentioned was that the image of this Blu-ray was extremely clear. And this is something that I never noticed before, was that toward the end, it's actually just somebody wearing like an Angela mask. So there's some guy wearing an Angela mask. I never even noticed that before. I figured maybe they had a prosthetic down below, but it turns out they had one up top for that final shot. Now, it didn't take away anything from that reveal. In fact, it kind of made it more creepy because the entirety of her was in full view and was really creepy with all the blood and everything. So it all worked out really well. And also on this disc was, as I mentioned, were the extras. There's about a 40-minute presentation of interviews with filmmakers and stars, which was really quite interesting. And, you know, like revisiting the film, it's definitely more than worth checking out, especially in this Blu-ray edition. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest quick video here for the recommendation for heading into the weekend for Sleepaway Camp from 1983. Like I said, it's available at the time of this video on both Tubi and Peacock. So if interested, head on over to check it out. Anyways, that's about all that I have for this quick little recommendation here, you know, for what to check out going into this weekend. And as for the sequels, like I said, I think I'd seen at least 1 or 2 of them. I believe there's 4 in total, of varying degrees of acceptance. Some people like them, some people really don't. So I might want to check those out eventually as well, and maybe I'll do a video of them. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon, all those things. And thanks for sticking around to the end. And before we go, what are your thoughts on this film if you've seen it? Sound off in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.